you forced the man out. When you were getting back in the car, you told the man to step back. Then you had this strange, uncontrolled feeling to shoot the man. The next thing you realized was that you shot the man. You heard the man make a noise as he fell to the ground, flopping like a chicken.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a Louisiana man who has been locked up in Angola since 1979 for a brutal rampage which resulted in the murder of this man. Now, before we watch this parole hearing, we are going to take a flashback to the past to his 2020 commutation hearing. So with that, let's jump in.
So, Mr. Craig, you're here before the pardon board because you've submitted an application for clemency. You're requesting consideration for the commutation. You were sentenced in the 26th Judicial District, Bossier, as well as the 5th Judicial District, Richland Parish, for second-degree murder and aggravated kidnapping. You received a life sentence on each of those convictions, and those sentences are to run consecutive. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And you were sentenced in 1980 in Bossier and 1981 in Richland.
Correct.
Okay. Your case this morning has been assigned to Mr. Wise. He'll start the interview process with you.
You went before the Richland Parish grand jury, and you were charged with first-degree murder, but you later pled guilty to a second degree. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. During this time of all this, I've read over your file, and when you kidnapped the girl and took her after you shot the guy, were you on any kind of drugs, alcohol, or anything like that?
I had an alcohol and a drug problem.
What about during that time?
Yes, I was
All right.
intoxicated.
Well, I see you have 3 arrests over in Texas. Is that correct?
It's been so long, but I believe it is correct. Yeah, I'll probably have some of those.
When you and the guy was driving in the truck, what made you just get out and go jump and kidnap those people and go down the road and then execute one of them and keep going?
It was just a totally irrational act. It started out where me and a friend of mine were drinking, and like you say, I walked out, got in the truck and stole it, threw a ride in that truck because the oil light had come on, and I was so loaded I didn't even know it. I threw a ride in it, and then just one thing led to another. And I'm responsible, but it was just a totally irrational act.
Yeah. How long you been incarcerated right now?
Since 1979. Well, I got arrested in 1979, but I say 42 years. It's 40-something years.
Yeah. And what is your job at the prison where you're at right now? What do you do there?
Currently, I'm a Catholic peer minister, and I also work as a inside and outside orderly at St. Augustine Chapel. And I also am a clerk and do ministry work at Our Lady of Guadalupe Chapel at the main prison. And I serve our Catholic community here in the prison.
Yes. Your programs and everything, you've done some good programs. And how many did you have? 12 disciplinary. Your last one was in 2002. Was your last disciplinary write-up?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but yes, that's probably correct.
And you've been through the Toastmaster JC, victim awareness, substance abuse, anger management?
Yes, sir. I was involved in a lot of self-help programs when I got here, and then all of those I've participated in and was sincere about.
Mr. Craig, I see over in Texas you had a theft or reckless conduct and assault. And then after that, within a couple of years, you came back, and this when this kidnapping, aggravated kidnapping, and everything happened.
Right.
Did you know the guy? Is that why you shot him, because you knew him?
It was something that I did know him, but it was kind of like some kind of coincidence that I ran into it that night, but that wasn't the reason. I've thought about it for many years, and it was wrong. It was an immoral act, immoral and all that. I don't really quite know the reason. Like I say, it was irrational. I was intoxicated. There was sin in my life, and there's just really no reason for it.
Well, when you left him, you took the girl and went on.
Right. And I already had the police were already after me. I mean, so we went on. That is correct.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. Mr. Marabella has a question.
Mr. Craig, you indicated that you were drinking that night.
Yeah, alcohol was part of my life then. I was almost every day, every night. But yeah, I was drinking that night.
Well, tell me when you started drinking. When did you first start drinking in your life?
I was probably around the age, the first drink I ever had, I was probably 11 or 12 years old. But I really started heavily drinking when I was in high school.
And you were what, about 22 when this happened?
Right.
Okay. How much were you drinking, say, the year before this happened?
A lot, almost every day.
What were you drinking?
I drank beer, I drank vodka, I drank rum, I drank whiskey. It just depended on what kind of kick I was on.
Did you have any job?
I worked for a while. I worked in the oil field, and I stayed on that job for quite a while. Originally back in 1975, when I was my senior year of high school, when I had quit school and all that, dropped out. I have a GED, but I dropped out my senior
When did you get your GED?
sometime around 1977, 78, somewhere around in there.
Now, do you consider yourself to be an alcoholic?
Yes, I do.
So how are you going to be able to stay away from drinking? And I accept the fact that you probably haven't had much to drink in the last 40 years. But
Well, what happened was when I got here, I hit bottom and I realized that, alcohol was a negative influence in my life, and I really wanted to change. I didn't want any more trouble. So thankfully, when I got to Angola, someone introduced me to the Alcoholics Anonymous program. And I started attending, and it was through that I was able to realize a lot about myself, about the problem I had, to admit it, to relate to other people that had this same problem, and grow in that, and come to know myself and to start to change.
now it's been said that the 12 steps is a real good plan for living your life. Now, have you followed the 12 steps? Do you believe in the 12 steps?
Yes, I do. I did follow them for a number of years until around 1996. I was agnostic for most of my life. And when I was in AA, I had a higher power. Then around 1996, I came into the Catholic Church and I began to seek. And when I got involved with the church, I had become a little disillusioned with the AA group in the prison. I thought it was kind of more of a social group than really working the steps and all that. So I got more involved in the church, but it's still a valuable program. I still believe in it. It helped me out in my life. It helped me to grow, know who I was.
Let's assume you get a favorable vote today and eventually you get out in your future. Is AA going to be a part of your life?
I've thought more or less of the church being a part of my life. I think the church is the key to it, but AA could be a part of it. I haven't attended meetings since around 1996, even though it was a great part of my life. I attended all those meetings. taught classes, I taught the 12 steps. I practiced them, I lived it. It helped me, but when I came to know Jesus Christ, I felt as though the church was more in line with what, I needed to be my source.
Where do you hope to live, Mr. Craig?
I'd like to live around my immediate family in Texas.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the culture of East Texas, but I'm familiar with the culture of Louisiana. And everybody in Louisiana pushes drink on you, alcohol. Just have a drink, just have a drink. And being an alcoholic oftentimes is genetic and chemical. It's not just willpower. So I think you need to reevaluate your need for AA. Church is good, and I appreciate all of that. But I think the 12 steps in the AA meetings is something that you really need to dwell on. Okay?
Well, I would love that. I always loved the meetings. It was a key for my life, and I wouldn't have any problem with that at all.
Now, you are a Class A trustee. How long have you been a trustee?
Since 1988.
Madam Chairman, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mirabella. I don't see any other questions on the board. So, Ms. Roten, can we hear from those who want to speak?
Yes, ma'am. First, we'll hear from Miss Melinda House, Mr. Craig's sister. Ms. House, you can make your statement now.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Melinda Craig House, and I am Jody's sister. I'm the youngest of the 5 siblings. Jody is the oldest. I appreciate this opportunity to come before the board and express my support for my brother. I also would like to, first of all, express my sincere sorrow to the victims' families. For the pain and the heartache that my brother caused them. For myself and my parents and my other brother siblings, we always knew the pain that we felt, but we always knew in our daily thoughts and prayers that what the family and the victims had gone through was even a deeper pain by far. We know that what they've been through, we wish that we could change what happened. I know my brother was 22 years of age. I was 13 at the time when he became there at Angola. I was 15 when I started visiting him. I have seen firsthand the changes that my brother has made in his life. I want to express that my family and our support for him is because we know that he changed his life. He accepted, first of all, what he had done. He had the desire to change his heart and the desire to change his life. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful, I believe it's through that desire in accepting Christ and the rehabilitation programs there at Angola and the many things that he has been a part of throughout the 42 years that he has been there. As a reflection of who he is. He has been involved in so many things. Of course, you're aware of the Toastmasters and the Sober Group AA, the JCs. He's been a Class A trustee. Also, what I'm really proud of is the fact that whenever the Catholic youth come to Angola for their retreats, that he shares his testimony with the youth. And he shares with them and hope that they will not make the same bad choices that he made. And I'm thankful for the man my brother is today. I'm thankful for who he is. I know that if he is released, I believe Jody is an excellent candidate for an early release. Also, with that, he has 3 family-owned businesses that are all connected to our family. They know us. They are all well-known and respected family-owned businesses, each of which they are.
Ms. House, we need you to wrap it up. We have 2 more speakers, please, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. And they're all willing to support him by hiring him. And also he has the family support of encouragement and prayer and guiding wherever he is. That's where I want to be. That's where my family wants to be, to help him to continue to be able to help others and be on. I believe he'll be an exceptional modeled citizen. I appreciate your time and I thank you, and I pray the best for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. House. Now we'll hear from Mr. Joe Bethany. Mr. Bethany, please make your statement now. You need to unmute your mic, sir.
Is that better? Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Please make your statement.
Okay. Thank you to the respected board members for allowing me to speak today. After speaking with Jody on the phone, I am very impressed with the man he has become after being incarcerated at such a young age. His dad, who is now deceased, and I became close friends. Jody's mom is a great person who loves her children and grandchildren without limits. My wife is a retired high school teacher and taught all of Jody's younger siblings as well as some of their children. All of the Craigs treated her with respect and she thought highly of them. Jody's youngest sibling, Melinda, the only girl, was the apple of her daddy's eye. After graduation, she, my wife, and I have become close friends over the years. Melinda, who is a widow, has a stable home, which is one of the places available to Jody to be, if he is pardoned. I am sure the board is looking at the same list of amazing accomplishments Jody has made during his 40 plus years at Angola. If incarceration is supposed to lead to rehabilitation, I feel the state of Louisiana has done an excellent job. I hope the board will consider giving Jody a chance to work at one of the jobs that are waiting for him. He is fortunate to have a family who is prepared to provide a stable residence with positive surroundings and love. Thank you very much for hearing my statement.
Thank you, Mr. Bethany. Next, we'll hear from Angola Chaplain, Mr. Jay Jackson. You need to unmute your mic, Mr. Jackson.
Okay. My name is Jay Jackson. I served as a Catholic chaplain in Angola from January 2016 up until June of 2020. And prior to that, I worked as a volunteer up there in Angola since 1999, and that's where I first met Jody. Jody, of course, as you've heard already, he's completed a lot of self-help programs. But as far as his Catholic ministry is concerned, he's well-trained and has been taking a lot of classes in the Catholic program. And one of them I think is most notable is the Ministry and Theology program, which is a 3-year program. It involves a lot of research, a lot of paperwork, and it involves scripture, the sacraments, and also service. And Jody completed that and completed it quite well. I worked with Jody closely during the last 5 years I was there. He was the office clerk, and I got to know Jody real well. And I learned a lot about Jody's character. Jody is very reliable. He's trustworthy. He's very honest. He's polite and respectful, and he's highly efficient. And I say that kind of in a joking way, in the sense that Jody is one who kept me organized. Every day when I showed up for work, Jody would let me know the things that we needed to take care of. He was well organized and well structured. And to me, Jody somewhat epitomizes the person that's really tried very hard to better himself since the time he's been in Angola. His sister Melinda mentioned the fact that he spoke at the high school retreats that we had. That was one of the strongest programs that we offered, and Jody was the backbone of it, a lot of it. He spoke to these groups. There were about 50 students that would come in on a busload. And we did that program for about 10 to 12, actually about 20 times a year. And Jody would always speak about the vices that caused him led him to the crime he committed, and always spoke strongly against the drugs and the alcohol to the students. And he was quite effective in his testimony. He was not proud of the person he was, but we were all proud of the person he became. And so Jody was probably one of the most involved Catholic ministers we had at Angola. He was involved in everything that we did. Not only did he get it organized, but he kept it going. And I just want to say I feel most comfortable speaking to the board today, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak for Jody. Knowing him as well as I have, he really, to me, is the person who, through his rehabilitation and his connection to his family, and everything else, that he'll be a true asset if he's able to be pardoned. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaplain. Ms. Renata, that's all the speakers. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you.
There's one more speaker. I apologize. Justin Lewis, the victim's nephew, will be speaking next.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello. Hello, I'm Justin Lewis. I am Michael Hardaway's nephew. I would like to start by saying that my grandmother, for 28 years of her life, she plowed and taught Sunday school. She plowed cotton with a mule. Fantastic lady. Hard to live up to how good of a lady she was. She loved Mike Hardaway. And if given the opportunity, the list of people that would like to speak on Mike's behalf would be just long as you can imagine. Never heard a bad word about Mike. Mike was a very talented man, had a lot in front of him. They did know each other. Jody stayed in the house with Mike. Jody went to Texas and he didn't recognize him when he picked him up. He had tried to take a pregnant lady, and her husband, father-in-law, talked him out of it and took the father-in-law from Texas to Bossier. And that's where he picked up Mike and Cynthia. And on the way, Cynthia says that she thought everything was going to be okay because of the way Jody was talking. You know, they knew each other, and that Mike was doing everything that Jody asked him to do. And just along the way, they stopped, and Jody turned on a dime and killed him. And as he got back in the vehicle with Cynthia, you know, he screamed at her forever, just screamed at her because she was crying. It's just been a terrible 41 years. My grandfather, Mike's dad, cried every day until the day he died for the loss of Mike. It destroyed my grandmother. It was a real bad deal. I don't know how anyone in our area, their area and our area is not far from each other, will ever understand him being pardoned. And it's still a very tough deal. What a great loss with Mike. He was a fine man, and I've never heard a bad word spoke of him. And so just the not having the ability to ever talk to him again in his life has been a real hard deal for this family. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. We appreciate your remarks. Warden LaMartiniere, is there anything you can add?
This is Warden Falcon. No, ma'am. They've gone over his record here as far as what he's been able to accomplish during his incarceration. Don't have anything to add.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Craig, I'm not sure, I want to be sure we have it on the record, the opposition that's been expressed to any favorable consideration for you, and that comes from the DA's office in Richland, the DA's office in Bossier, and law enforcement in both of those jurisdictions. You need to be aware of that. Is there a statement you'd like to make to us before we reach a decision?
I'd just like to say that for what I've done, I am remorseful, and there was sin in my life, and you know, a lot of times you can't change the past, and what I've tried to do is change the present and the future. And what I'm here for today is the opportunity for mercy. You know, what I've done in the past is real. It caused harm. Words can't really adequately express it. At times, I don't know what kind of words would be adequate, but I'm sorry for the harm that I've done other people. And like I said, at that time in my life, all this was a totally irrational act. Alcohol was a profound influence, but I would just like to say that I am responsible, I'm remorseful, and I've tried to become a better person and to serve others.
Thank you. Mr. Wise, are you prepared to offer your vote?
Yes, ma'am. You know, I struggle on this, but you've had some good people come up and speak for you today. You know, and Mr. Marabella said it 100 times. It's our thing to see what you've done since you've been incarcerated. And as I look on here, you've taken many programs, positive comments from staff, positive comments from the warden. And today is not a vote to turn you loose. Today is a vote to make you either parole eligible or not parole. So today I'm going to be voting to grant, commute your sentence to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. Mr. Rochelle?
Madam Chairman, my vote is the same for the same reasons.
Thank you, Mr. Rochelle. Mr. Marabella?
Mr. Craig, I agree with both Mr. Wise and Mr. Roche. And I would say to the young man who spoke very glowingly about Mr. Parole, we heard you, we do hear you, and we certainly understand the pain of your grandmother and your grandfather. And I do understand when you say, you know, it's hard for other people to understand that he's being pardoned. Well, a pardon doesn't forgive him or doesn't exonerate him for what he does. It's simply, if he's granted pardon, it's because of what he has become accomplished while he's in prison. It has nothing to do with exonerating him for what he did on that day. So my vote would be the same to grant, just as Mr. Wise and Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. And my vote today also would be to grant the commutation of sentence to 99 years with parole eligibility immediately. My vote is based on the hard work that Mr. Craig has done in the favorable remarks that we've heard today. So, Mr. Craig, we'll make that recommendation on your behalf to Governor Edwards. Good luck to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank the board.
And someone's going to have to tell me who possessed Mr. Mirabella and No Way Roche for that hearing, because that did not look like the gentleman that we know from the Louisiana Parole Board. And I get it. I get that they're recommending to the governor to commute the sentence, and then he's going to have to come up for a parole hearing. But it just didn't seem like the tip, like he didn't seem to do well, if you ask me. The whole programs thing, or accepting the guilt and whatnot, or at least, like, he was kind of like beating around the bush, and it was and Mr. Roche with no comments to the victims. It's just shocking. And it's a Jim Wise led hearing, so of course it's like you get nothing out of it. But thankfully, the next hearing that we're about to watch, which is a parole hearing because Governor Edwards did commute his sentence, is going to be led by the one and only, the Honorable Judge Bonnie Jackson.
You received a commutation of sentence on January 24th, 2023. Governor Edwards signed your commutation of sentence, and it commuted your sentence to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And your new parole eligibility date is January 24th, 2023. Your adjusted good time date is June 28th, 2029. And your full-term date is January 6th, 2079. Is all that information correct?
Yes, sir, I believe it is. That was all on my new master prison record.
Right, great. And your case has been assigned to Mrs. Jackson. Would you please answer Mrs. Jackson's question?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Craig. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Yes, ma'am, doing well.
Your case has been assigned to me, Mr. Craig, and I've reviewed it, so I have some things to talk to you about. You appeared before the board on May 17th of 2021, and by a 4-0 vote, the board voted to recommend a commutation to the governor. I was not on that panel at the time. I had not been confirmed to the board. So I didn't have the advantage of having participated in your clemency hearing. So some of the questions I asked may have been covered in your previous hearing, but since I wasn't a part of that hearing, I may have some additional things I want to talk to you about.
All right.
How old are you, Mr. Clay?
I just turned 66 years old.
And how long have you actually been incarcerated on these charges?
Since 1979, which is working on 44 years.
So it's 43 years right now?
Yes, ma'am. I haven't completed it. 43 completed.
And so you were how old when you committed these crimes?
21 years old.
Explain to me, since I wasn't at the previous hearing, how it is that someone 21 years old is involved in this kind of criminal activity. What was going on with you at that time that brought you to this point?
Yes, ma'am. It's really, it was an irrational and immoral act. I had a serious alcohol problem at that time in my life.
Let me slow you down a little bit. Let me slow you down. How far had you gone in school? Did you have your high school diploma?
I got my GED on the streets. I went to my senior year of high school. I didn't graduate, so I got a GED later on.
Okay. And why didn't you graduate?
I was expelled from school for not giving an oral book report, and I had refused to give it. And so I was expelled, and I just never went back my senior year.
And once you were expelled from school, what did you do?
I started to work in the oil field on a workover rig
And how long did you do that?
for a couple of years, maybe not even that long. I started spending more.
How old were you when you started working in the oil field?
I was around 17. I was just about to turn 18.
So you were working in the oil field. And you did that for a couple of years, correct? So you're 19, maybe 20 around that time?
Yes, ma'am. I guess so, right.
Why'd you stop working in that?
Well, like I say, I started devoting more and more of my time to where I would drink and I would smoke marijuana. And it ended up.
How are you doing that?
Well, I worked occasionally for a contractor. I'd work a little bit and then we would quit and then I'd go back to work again. And I was just living around the house and all that. And so most of my life was devoted to partying. That was just really staying drunk and staying high most every day.
What kind of drugs were you using?
Marijuana, speed, pills, but mainly alcohol. That was what I really relied on.
So you consider that you were an alcoholic then?
Yes, not then, but later on, after all this, when I had hit bottom, when I encountered the Alcoholics Anonymous program, I began to realize I was an alcoholic.
So let's talk about this crime or these crimes. It started off at the home of Jim Rogers. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. It didn't start off then. I had threw a ride in a truck that I had really stolen or just taken advantage of. I was with an associate drinking. I took the truck and I threw a ride in it, and that's how I ended up at the home of
Rogers. Did you know Mr. Rogers personally?
No, ma'am.
So what happened when you got to Mr. Rogers' house?
I believe that I had a weapon on me and I went to their house and I was looking for a ride for them to take me somewhere, wherever I was going.
About Mississippi. You were in Texas. This is Tyler, Texas.
I was around Texas at that time.
And so you went to the Rogers home with the intent of doing what?
Well, this is what's so irrational about it. At the time when I threw a ride in the truck, I was looking for another ride. So when I ended up there at that house, I saw a man in the field that was cutting wood or something. And I went to the house. I didn't know these people. And when he pulled up, that's when I pulled the weapon on him and I was wanting a ride, transportation from him.
Well, where were you trying to go?
Well, I really didn't know where I was wanting to go. I told them something about I was heading to Arkansas or Florida, but I was very, very intoxicated at the time.
Well, but you lived in Texas, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So why were you so desperate to get to Louisiana and then Mississippi?
Well, that's what doesn't make any sense about it. Like I say, the only thing I can say, I didn't have the soundness of mind. It was irrational.
Now, ask you this, did you ever indicate that, did you shoot somebody in Texas?
I think I told them that, but that was just something I had made up. Something to where it, in my mind, maybe it gave me a little bit more control over them or whatever, but I had never done anything like that.
So you force Mr. Rogers into his vehicle and you forced him to accompanied you to Louisiana. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And then you arrived in Bossier City.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened in Bossier City?
We pulled into a restaurant area and I seen some people exiting the, I believe it was called the Ravana restaurant. And I took them hostage in order to gain another ride and let Mr. Rogers left him there to
Why'd
go
you
on his way,
Why did you do that?
to gain another ride, another transportation in order to go wherever I was going.
Why didn't you just continue on with Mr. Rogers?
I don't really know. I didn't. That's what happened. I let him go and got another ride.
So you drove from Tyler to Bossier?
He did the driving. He drove. Yeah, we went from Tyler to Bossier.
That's probably 2 hours or so.
Yeah, probably so.
Okay. So during that 2 hour period, you weren't kind of sobering up in?
No, ma'am.
And then you encountered this couple leaving the restaurant. What happened? What happened there?
I pulled the gun on them and told them that I was needed to ride, and they complied, and we got in their vehicle and left.
Again, you still haven't figured out why you're trying to go to Mississippi? You have family in Mississippi?
I think I told somebody I may have been going to Arkansas or Mississippi. That wasn't really I didn't really know where I was going, to tell you the truth, but we headed out.
Well, it kind of troubles me that you can't provide. I mean, I understand being drunk or impaired, but, to be delusional, which is what you're having us try to believe. I'm struggling.
I know it is. You can't make any sense out of this. And all I can say is at that time in my life, which I take responsibility for all of this, and I am remorseful for what I've done with the victims and everyone else. But it was a totally irrational act. And at that time in my life, alcohol.
Let me ask you this. Okay. What were you?
Had me really out of my mind.
What were you intoxicated on?
Oh, I started out drinking beer and whiskey and everything else. I used all of this in a combination.
Well, I understand. I'm just, having not that I drink particularly heavy, but I am familiar with, drinking alcohol and never smoked marijuana, but, typically doesn't cause irrational behavior. And a person is more likely to fall asleep sometimes.
Well, in this case, it was not soundness of mind and it wasn't rational. If you look at all of this, none of this never should have happened. It makes no sense. It was irrational. And at that time in my life, the alcohol consumption and the other drugs that I was using placed me to where, yes, I am responsible. I made these choices. I know what I did was sinful and it was wrong. And it makes, to try to explain it to you in a rational way, it was totally irrational. It was immoral, it was wrong, it was sinful. But I can't explain it in a rational manner.
After you encountered Miss Baxter and Mr. Hardaway,
right?
You kind of took them hostage also. And again, you're telling them that you shot a man in a bar in Highland, Texas. You didn't know if you killed a man. You did not want to go to jail and had planned to travel to Mississippi to hide out. Do you recall telling them that?
Yes, I did. And I think that was a way to gain control over them or persuade them that this was necessary in order for them to give me the ride wherever I was going.
How long do you think you rode with them after they were,
Well, thinking back on it, you know, when you're intoxicated, time is different, a different perspective, but I guess it was a couple hours, maybe longer. I don't really know.
guess I'm struggling with the 2 hours, 2.5 hours from Tyler, and then the 2 hours to Delhi. And
We were
you-
on the interstate, so yeah.
You hadn't sobered up any, you hadn't fallen asleep. I'm struggling with that. I'm just gonna be honest with you, I'm struggling with that scenario. So you instructed Mr. Hardaway to pull the vehicle over at the Delhi exit. And you and Mr. Hardaway got out of the vehicle. You had a conversation with him, and Mr. Hardaway was shot 3 times. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Why did you kill Mr. Hardaway?
There was no reason for it.
Well, something prompted it, Mr. Craig. Something prompted it.
Well, at that time in my life, and like I've come and thought about it many times myself and self-examined. Really no reason for it. And maybe at that time in my life, because of that, the essence of it, the evil of the whole situation prompted me to do what I did.
Did you know Mr. Craig, Mr. Hardaway?
I had went to school with him. I didn't know that was him coming out of the restaurant whenever I approached them. I didn't know it was him, but later on, at one time in my life, we had went to school.
When did you realize that you knew Mr. Hardaway?
Oh, after they got to talking when I was in the vehicle with him for a while, going down the road.
What prompted you to ask Mr. Hardaway to pull off the highway?
What prompted me to do that? I guess I had in my mind at some point, I had come to the conclusion that I was going to shoot Michael Hardaway.
And why did you come to that conclusion?
Well, that's the question there is that there was no reason for it.
Oh, because you informed Baxter, and Miss Baxter was a female. You informed her that you killed Mr. Hardaway because he can identify you.
I was already identified though, Ms. Chairman, because if you look at this whole case, when it started out, they already knew who I was and everything else. So I probably did tell her that, but that's not the reason why.
And then,
as I said, there was no reason for it. It never should have happened, but it did happen.
And then you continued driving.
Let me go back in my memory. I think I had her drive.
Yeah, you can remember some things, but you have really big gaps about the important things. But you all encountered a roadblock in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and that's when you were arrested. Is that correct?
That is correct. And there are mostly, I can't remember, the only thing that a lot of times respectfully with you, this whole thing was, as I said, there is no reason for it. It never should have happened, but it did happen. I'm responsible for it. I did it. But as far as intent, I never planned to do any of this, but it did happen. It was an irrational act. And the only thing, through years of self-examination in my life and coming to the conclusion with self-help programs and being, my involvement with the church, where I received my redemption and forgiveness of sin.
Mr. Craig, we're going to talk about the things you've done since the shooting, since the incident, because that's also important in our decision making. But another thing that's equally as important is whether or not person. It's one thing to say you accept responsibility, It's another thing to evade answering questions that indicate, what actually happened.
I know, and I understand that, but I'm not really evading it. I'm just trying to be honest about it. When you ask me what the reason was, I don't really know the reason. And after all these years, I still can't quite understand it, except that it was in my life at that time, it was a totally irrational act. It was sinful,
Were you
and it was evil, and I did it. I did it.
suffering from any form of mental illness? When you talk about someone being irrational and acting in a rational way, that would be indicative of some sort of mental health issue. And I don't have any indication in my record that you suffer from any diagnosed mental illness.
Well, that's true, but apparently I wasn't totally the way that I should have been at that time in my life. That's for sure. It would be indicative of that. But Ms. Jackson, if I could share with you just one moment.
Sure.
When I came here after all of this,
Mm-hmm.
I had really hit bottom. And I felt guilty about all this, not only the victims, with Michael Hardaway and Miss Baxter and my family and everyone that I had affected society. I had hit bottom. And I had to come to a conclusion to do some self-examination. And when I came to Angola, even though this is a maximum security prison, when I got involved with Alcoholics Anonymous right here, and they told me about that program, I began to understand where I had made mistakes in my life and what was going on, that I could not claim soundness of mind whenever I drank these large amounts of alcohol. And I did this crazy, bizarre stuff. And so with that, I didn't want any more trouble. I can't change the past, but I have changed the present, and I want to change the future. And thank goodness, years later, after all these self-help programs, I got involved with my church too, through the Catholic Church. That's where I learned about Jesus Christ.
Mr. Craig,
I've come to know.
Mr. Craig, you will be given a chance to make a closing statement at the end of this hearing.
All right, yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Craig, I do know that you have only had a total of 12 disciplinary write-ups in your 43 years of incarceration, which is, a really outstanding disciplinary record. I'm showing that your last disciplinary write-up was in 2002. Do you recall that incident?
I don't know which one it is. It's been so long ago, but I have had very few write-ups.
I understand, but you don't recall the very last one you got. You don't recall that.
What is the rule violation? Do you know?
I don't know that.
I've had very few.
I understand. So that should make it easier for you to remember when you've had 130 or 40 and understand why you might not be able to understand, but you've only had 12. If you don't remember what it is, that's fine. It's not.
I don't remember the last one. No, ma'am.
I'm looking at your programming, Mr. Craig. You've done Living in Balance 1 and 2, which is substance abuse, and you've had AA, NA. How long have you been affiliated with AA and NA?
Oh, well, when I first started out for well over 25 years, but when I got involved with the Catholic Church around 1995 or 96, I devoted more of my time to the church.
Okay, sir, please, I know you want to talk about all the great things you've done. I want to know what you're sitting here telling me today that these horrific crimes that were committed as a result of your intoxication and your impairment
No, ma'am, I'm not blaming it on that. It was a very
Stop
big
talking.
influence. I'm
Stop
responsible.
talking. Stop talking. So the next question is, what have you done to address what was obviously a problem for you? And the only substance abuse programs that I see are Living in Balance and AA and NA. Now, Living in Balance has a start date and an end date. But AA and NA are open-ended. And I wish you would answer my questions directly. You will get a chance to talk about other things. But when did you first begin participating in NA and AA?
Around 1981.
And how long did that participation continue?
Until 1996.
So when did you do Living in Balance?
That had to be somewhere in the year 2000 and, let's see if I go back, Living in Balance, had to be possibly 2011, something like that.
Since that time, have you been involved in any substance abuse groups or programs?
No, ma'am.
And then I see Cage or Rage, and which is an anger management course. My concern is that you've taken very few programs that are extremely good programs within the Department of Corrections. I'm not discounting your faith-based work, but that doesn't always kind of hit on the areas that you need work. And so when I looked at your record, and I've seen inmates who've been in prison as long as you have, who had no thought of ever being released, and yet they took program after program after program to help them understand themselves, why they committed the crime, and how to become a better human being without regard to whether they be released or not. And I was just struck by the fact that you did not have a lot of DOC programs. You did some faith-based programs. I don't discount those, but they don't always get to the meat of the heart of the issue. And that's my concern. So my question to you is, why haven't you taken more of the programming offered by DOC?
The answer to that question,
Victim awareness, which for a lot of offenders, that is a aha moment, a light bulb going off moment. And I don't see that you've taken victim awareness.
oh, that's an excellent program.
Take it.
Yes, I'm involved in it right now.
So you've only started taking it recently.
Right. But that's correct. But I think you wanted me to answer the question of why I didn't have more programs, I believe. Yeah. The reason why is because whenever I got involved with the Catholic Church and encompassing all this, and I learned of Jesus Christ, a lot of these elements that are within these other programs, we had all of this. We had classes, we had all of this, and I devoted most of my life and my time to the church. And so, not discounting, some of these programs are really good, but I had over 25 years or 30 years of AA until I got involved with the church. So whenever I got involved in the church, most of my life was devoted to that.
So what community service work have you done within the institution?
Or community service work. I've served my Angola Catholic community as a Catholic peer minister. I've went to the cell blocks with other inmates. I've conducted classes to where I've taught Bible studies, RCIA, the entrance into the Catholic community. I've been involved in Toastmasters where we taught public speaking and we helped other inmates with leadership. I've taught some educational classes, as a tutor, to where I was involved in that, helping other inmates get their GED at one time. And just over the years, I've tried to give back to my community. I believe in service to help others to bring about a healing in order to make them better people also, if we can share our gifts to.
Well, let me ask you this, since you're in victim awareness now, but you feel like that's been covered in your religious studies, tell me and this board, in what ways have your actions impacted the lives of other people?
All my actions whenever this crime was committed.
What was the impact for
The impact was definitely bad for the victims that are concerned. I mean, the impact of the trauma that I caused other people by doing this.
How about this? Let's start with Mr. Rogers. How do you think your crime had impacted Mr. Rogers and his family?
I think it was very traumatic to Mr. Rogers and all, with his family and what he went through with the threat that was concerned. And I feel like I'm very remorseful to it. If I could talk to Mr. Rogers, I would convey that.
Okay, you talk a lot, so stop talking. Just using the word trauma doesn't really, well, first of all, let's start with his family. He's been abducted. What do you think his family was going through while he was in your control?
They probably were going through a lot of concern, fear. They were probably very emotionally overwhelmed, grief. Trying to empathize with them, I can imagine that it was, as you say, words are really inadequate, but it was trauma. It really was a very traumatic episode for them. And for that, I like to say that.
What do you think Rogers was thinking when you were forcing him to drive you? What do you think was going through Mr. Rogers' mind?
Well, going through his mind, I think Mr. Rogers was hoping that, that nothing would happen seriously, that he could comply with me and get over this situation, and that he was probably thinking about his family and his loved ones and just trying to get over on this, to get by, to survive. Or there was probably a lot going through his mind at the time. Mr. Rogers, really, I guess we talked a little bit, not to over talk, but Mr. Rogers seemed like he's a very good person. I know this was devastating, and it was something that was pretty bad.
What do you think the long-term effect of this crime had on him and his family?
Well, the long-term effect, I guess, yes, indeed, it was something that they talked about and they came together. They were emotionally overwhelmed, and that they gained solace, and that they tried to understand all this. And
do you think this experience changed their lives in any way?
Yes, I would. I think it was something that changed their life by the impact of the devastation and the trauma that it caused them. And probably brought them closer together to support each other, but at the time it was something that caused them grief, that they had to get over.
So you think they got over it?
I wouldn't know, but I would hope so. I would hope that they would have come to terms with it some kind of way.
What about Miss Baxter?
The same thing. It was something in her life that I know caused her some emotional and traumatic impact. It hurt her immensely, and by being there, and it's probably something that she may not ever get over. But I would hope that at some point that there
What
would be.
about Mr. Hardaway? What about Mr. Hardaway when you asked him to pull off the interstate and go down this gravel road? What do you think is going through his head?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it was something that I know I would not want to be going through that. The fear and the threatened part of his life to go through this, to actually have to encounter this, and it's just something that, like you say, that they shouldn't have went through to begin with.
Yes, is it after you shot and killed Mr. Hardaway? Imagine Miss Baxter sitting in that car, hearing those shots fired, and obviously she was on a date with Mr. Hardaway, so he was someone that was important in her life, and she has to hear, if not see, him being shot multiple times, and then his killer getting back in the vehicle.
Yes, it's terrible. That's right, really is. As you say, you use the word horrific. I guess it would have been.
Yeah. And what about Mr. Hardaway's family?
Yes, ma'am. Same thing. Very, very terrible, horrific, tragic, nonsensical. Yes, ma'am. Very much so. I can well understand that and equate with it. Just terrible.
So, you've got a lot of opposition to your belief. So what would you say to people who don't think you ought to be released? Why should this board this involved multiple victims who endured, you want to use the word trauma? I call it hell. Who endured hell at your hand.
Well, what I like to say to that, if I on question how I would do that, I well understand it, and like you say, hell, as you say, instead of trauma. I can't change the past. Well, I can't change that, and like I say, it was terrible. So what I would like to
Go ahead.
What I would like to say to them is that I've tried here with the help of my Savior to become a better person, to try to make understanding of this, tried to, with the victims, to empathize with them and to come to terms with trying, I know words are sometimes inadequate, but to believe that remorse that I do have and the guilt that I've shown, and to let them know that I've become a better person and I want to continue to be a better person. Not only that, but I would like to bring a healing through this to other people, also my family, my community, people that I know, in order to be honest and sincere and to do this, and not only in prison, but perhaps living a normal life in society. Because my intentions are to stay involved with the church. This is the key. That's the key to do all this too. And also, if I could, with even the victims, if they wished it, to establish dialogue with them too, if it was up to them, to where we could,
So what would you say to them? I mean, what could you possibly say to them?
well, first of all, I would listen to them. And then I would respond and try to empathize with where they were coming from, questions that they might have, and to respond to it.
Warden, is someone with a prison in the room? Oh, Warden. Hey there, Warden Falco.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing well, and yourself?
I'm good. What do you have to tell us about,
Ms. Jackson, you've been very thorough in your interview. I really don't have anything that I could add to it at this point.
well, thank you, sir. All right. Mr. Roshan, that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Before we go any further in this hearing, I'd like to apologize to Mr. Craig. I didn't recognize your guest at the Louisiana State Penitentiary, and I will do so right now. The president at the Louisiana State Penitentiary is Ms. Melinda Craig House, assistant, and she'd like to make a statement. Ms. Gloria Bentley, your a friend, Joe Bentley, a friend, Beth Craig, his sister-in-law, your brother, Percy Craig, Captain William Messenger, and one of my favorite people in the world, Deacon Zeke Nolan, and Deacon Zeke would like to give us a statement at the appropriate time. So, Mr. Dean, do you have any questions?
No, sir. Ms. Jackson covered the question of why not so many clients.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to hear from your supporters. First of all, let's hear from Mr. Kerry Myers of the Louisiana Parole Project.
Good morning, Kerry Myers of the Louisiana Parole Project. And we're here today on behalf of Jody Craig. Jody's here today, obviously, because his board knows that he received a commutation that was signed by the governor of this sentence. Jody's been incarcerated for 44 years. As you heard it in his own words, he understands the gravity of his crime. He knows he's caused a lot of harm, but he spent those 44 years doing everything he could to be a better person. He can't ever change what he's done, as he said, but I can tell you that I know Jody personally. I was involved with Toastmasters for more than a decade with Jody. Jody was a leader. Jody was the person who constantly offered the opportunity to help other people to grow. I've watched him personally grow as a leader. I knew that he was involved in the Catholic community and know that as he went through those programs, he went through the ministry and theology program, which was an extensive multi-year program, actually on college level programming. I can tell you that Jody's character is, you can buy just in every record and the things that he's done. Jody's character is exactly what you see. He's a humble person. He's a person who is willing and not just willing, has a deep desire to give back. He knows he can never undo the harm. The only thing he can do is to continue to give back. His disciplinary record, his work at the prison, his involvement in the community at the prison through things like Toastmasters and Big Siege, the Catholic community, simply just exemplifies that desire. We'll provide, Jody has a strong reentry plan. He's going to come to Parole Project. Once he has completed Parole Project, he's already started his IHOTS to Texas, where he'll live with his sister. Jody has a plan once he gets to Texas for further sobriety, seek out AANA, not only sponsor an NAA, but to continue working in the community with other people. So we would just ask the board to take all of this in consideration today. Grant Jody.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Chaplain Jay Jackson.
Yeah, my name is Jay Jackson. I served as the Catholic chaplain at Angola from 2016 to 2021. And prior to that, I was a volunteer from 1999 up to 2016. And throughout the entire time, I knew Jody quite well. And when I was named full-time Catholic chaplain in Angola, I was faced with a decision to find someone who could be my right-hand man, working in the office with me day in and day out. And I wanted to have someone I could trust, someone who was dependable, someone who was honest, someone who was respected, and competent. And the person I wanted to have in that office with me day in and day out was Jody Craig, because he filled all those criteria. And more important than anything else, Jody was well respected among his peers. In other words, when someone came into that chaplain's office and needed to see or speak to me, Jody was there to take the information. And they knew when they came in to see me or see Jody, they could trust Jody. Jody was very, very confident in what he did. And I guess you might say he made me look good in some cases because he was so well organized and wanted to make sure everything was done properly and functionally, operated well and efficient. And I can't say enough nice things about Jody. I mean, like I said, I worked with him very, very closely, 5 years, day in and day out. And I'm talking about long days. And so I felt like I got an opportunity to know Jody quite well. I knew the highs and the lows, and I guarantee you there were very, very few lows in Jody's daily life. He had an outstanding attitude. He was always upbeat. He was all, like I say, very smart, very efficient. Always wanted to make sure everything worked out well. And anytime I ever asked Jody to go above and beyond, he was always willing to do that. So I'm here to speak for Jody. I tested his character. I tested where he's progressed from 40-something years ago to the man he is today. I feel like he will be an asset to whatever community he settles in. I've had an opportunity not only to work with Jody, but I've got a chance to meet him and talk to his sister regularly, where he will be staying once he gets out. That opportunity exists. And so I feel very confident that we will help with the parole project when Jody first gets out, if that happens. And subsequently after that, we do the same with his sister, that Jody will have all the solid support he needs to succeed. And so again, I ask you all to extend the recommendation.
Thank you, Chaplain.
Thank you.
At this time, would Ms. Melinda Craig House keep your seat and just speak to us, give us your statement?
Good morning. Yes, sir. I'm Melinda Craig House, and I'm Jody's sister. I'm the youngest of the family. I would just like to speak in support of him today, and I would like to let you know I've been coming to Angola since I was 15 years old, and throughout the years we've been here and seen the change that Jody has made in his life. Our family would like to express our sincere sorrow, and we just pray for the victims and their families. And I'd like to say that we wouldn't be here today in support of Jody if I felt that he had not changed his heart and that he had turned his life around. I know that he had the desire and willingness to want to change, and if he could change what had happened, I know that he would. My family were able to provide a loving and stable home for Jody. Also, in the community in which we live, there are 2 well-respected leaders in our community that have offered Jody employment. We live in a community of faith-filled community who are praying for Jody, who love him and who love our family. And we're very blessed that we live in such a small community and be a part of that. And I feel like with his trustee status of over 30 years, his conduct record, and his faith ministry here at Angola and the programs in which he's completed for over 40 years and the many mentors that have been involved with JODY and the many who reach out to us and have told us what an exceptional inmate and model inmate and how he gives back. Of course, we didn't ask for that. They tell us. But also, we just feel that those are all examples of his changed heart and the way that he's turned his life around. And we believe that he will continue. And I feel like God has used him here, and I feel like JODY would be able to do great things if given the opportunity. And we just humbly ask that the board would be able to grant JODY's parole and early release today. And we appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mrs. House. Deacon Nolan. Deacon Nolan.
Yes, sir. Hello, Mr. Roche.
Hello, Deacon Nolan.
Yes.
Would you want to your statement?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead and speak.
Okay. I'm very grateful to have met Christ in JODY Craig. Each morning for many years, we have prayed together the Liturgy of the Hours, the official prayer of the Catholic Church. His transformation has been interior, made visible in his voluntary ministry and service to his fellow inmates. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Deacon. Now, first of all, we'll hear from Deputy Sheriff Hank Haynes.
Okay. Good morning. Jason Walker, Sheriff here in Webster Parish, along with former Sheriff Gary Sexton. Jimbo Yoakum with the DA's office here in Webster Parish. He had to step out and go to court along with Chief Deputy Hank Haynes. Not present is Wayne McMahon, our state representative. And we just, in behalf of trying to save some time, we want to let y'all know that we stand with the family in opposition of the early release. And that if we understand that in June of 2029, that his good time would be available, and we ask that the board consider waiting until that time and reevaluate at that time in 2029.
Sheriff Parker.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And everyone else in the room had to go to court, right?
Yes, sir.
At this time, we would like to hear from the nephew of the victim, Mr. Justin Lewis. Mr. Lewis?
Well,
So, just give us your full name and your relationship to the offender.
I'm Justin Lewis, and I'm the nephew of Mike Parole.
Okay.
Sheriffs of Richland Parish, Warren County, along with the chief of police in Vicksburg, said that he killed him because of him. The surviving victim told me last week JODY killed him because of him. JODY's family gave Mike's family bull yearlings every year in the little town of Shongaloo, Louisiana. Okay, they knew each other. Spent the night in the house together. He did not kill Mr. Rogers. He did not kill Miss Baxter. He killed Mike. So, during the clemency hearing, there were words used such as mercy, genetics, irrational, profound, Catholic, and AA. I've heard many of those words today. It was told by JODY Craig in the clemency hearing that alcohol had a profound effect on him and led him to make some irrational decisions. He stated that AA and the Catholic Church has helped him change. I know many people who drink and are alcoholics. It's profound in many of their lives and has made them all make irrational decisions. I don't know of any of those irrational decisions leading to burglary, robbery, kidnapping, and murder. I pray that the board will use the most strenuous caution in releasing someone to a society where alcohol can be purchased on every corner to prevent more irrational decisions being made. I'm told AA is something that works well for those who follow it. Although AA is easier to follow in prison, a parole board member said that he didn't know the culture in East Texas, but he did know the culture in Louisiana. He said many people in Louisiana encourage drinking, and I completely agree. I live in Louisiana, and I'm very familiar with East Texas. It's the same culture as Louisiana. I'm glad you go to church. My son said that even agnostics, as you said you were prior to going to prison, in the Marine Corps, go to church on Sundays to avoid tearing down the whole platoon's barracks and putting them back together. The same can apply to prisoners doing hard labor. I have a heart. This gets tough, but it's been stated how well he can do in East Texas. So I apologize ahead of time. A parole board member stated that alcoholism is related to genetics during the clemency hearing. He said it was related to genetics and chemical and not just willpower. I agree with that. Science has shown that genetics are associated with killers and murderers. It's proven to be unequivocally clear are both born and made through their genes and environment. There's a reason I bring this up. It was mentioned by one of Jody's supporters who spoke on Jody's behalf that Jody's father was no longer living at the clemency hearing. What he didn't mention was how he died. Jody's younger brother shot and killed his father and was charged with first-degree murder. I agree that alcoholism can be one's genetics. Genetics are related to murderers also. Jody's family member commented on what they've been able to see Jody become since he's been in prison. No one will ever get to see what Mike Hardaway would become. It was highlighted in the last hearing that Jody was only 22. I want to list some of the things Mike had accomplished at 23. He was a loan officer of Indian Bank & Trust. He was chairman of the JCs. I know JCs is mentioned a lot in his parole hearings. And he was up for Businessman of the Year, 23 years old. Jody said he couldn't come up with the words to describe his actions that day. I decided to help him today by reading his words describing his actions that day from the public record file in Richard Parish. You said you were in a bar that morning and got an overwhelming feeling that you needed to get out of there. It was Ricky Black's truck, by the way. You immediately walked out of the bar and stole a truck. You said you weren't in control of your actions. Later that day, after the robbery/kidnapping in Tyler, you pulled into a restaurant in Motor City and saw a young man and woman getting into the car. You pulled a gun on them and forced them to drive east toward Mississippi. You recognized the man. You began to feel very strange riding in the car. You became aware of having sexual feelings towards the woman, and you would like to have sex with her. I wonder if that's possibly a reason for killing Mike, since it wasn't because he knew it. You had the man drive off a country road near Delhi. When you got out of the car to urinate, you forced the man out. When you were getting back in the car, you told the man to step back. Then you had this strange, uncontrolled feeling to shoot the man. The next thing you realized was that you shot the man. You heard the man make a noise as he fell to the ground, flopping like a chicken. I would like you to know that this wasn't the end of my Parole.
Mr. Lewis, address us and not.
Okay. I would like the board to know that this was not the end of my Parole. He shot him 200 feet from the highway down an old gravel road and then sped off in a car like a coward. With bullets tearing through almost all of his vital organs and shattering many bones in his body, he crawled on his hands and knees all the way to the highway, yelling for help. That's where all the scars came from on his hands that were displayed in his casket. A man named Pat Patterson, nearly 300 yards away, heard him yelling after the gunshots and went to see what the problem was. When Pat got there, Mike was dying. Before he faded away, he was able to tell him who you were and who he was, and that he had sent, and that they were headed towards Mississippi. He began to fade as he mentioned his mom and dad being older and his dad not doing well.
He died moments later. When y'all voted last time in favor of community and sentence, you told me that this wasn't a vote to turn him loose. You said you'd heard me when I spoke of how this destroyed Mike's parents. You said you hear me now when I told you Mike's daddy cried every day until he died on December the 25th, 1970. Please hear me now when I tell you that 66 years old is too young for Jody Ray Craig to be released for this crime. He's still healthy enough to commit more crimes. If genetics is a concern to murder again or drink alcohol again, he might want revenge on my family for speaking the truth about him. I welcome his revenge. At 66, he'll get to be with his family. If he tries really hard, he'll get married and have kids. I was asked to make a list of family members and how they were related to Mike. I wrote it out, and there was something noticeably missing. It listed Betty Lewis, sister, Reagan Hardaway, nephew, etc. There were no names listed that had wife, son, or daughter beside the name. That's a crime in itself. So remember, when they introduced me in the beginning as the victim's nephew, that Jody Craig took Mike Hardaway's opportunity for anyone ever to be introduced as my son or daughter. 66 is too young for what he took away. The way I look at this, can any of you tell me how many years is worth taking in life? Can anyone tell me 43 years is enough? Sincerely, the victim's nephew, Justin Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I think that concludes the statements from the opposition and from the support. Now, Mr. Craig, we have 3 minutes only to make a closing statement.
Well, thank you, Mr. Roche and Ms. Jackson, and also the other member of the board. I'll keep it concise and short within those 3 minutes. I had actually written something out, but I had left it in the other room, so I'll use it in my own words. First of all, I'd like to extend my apologies and my remorse and my regret that all this happened to all the victims, whoever they are. I take responsibility for my actions. And like I said earlier, sometimes words are inadequate, but I want to convey that I feel this. When I came to Angola, this is a place where we come present for the negative consequences of sin in our lives. But I'd like to share one thing also. This is also a place of redemption. And I've come to know that. I've come to understand myself a lot better, come to grow, to extend this to others, to try to help them. I received forgiveness of sins and the promise of eternal life. And I thank God for that through the church, my relationship with Jesus Christ, and of course, all of the that help us to become better people. And all the victims of this, as I've said earlier, I extend all my remorse, all my regrets. I'm sorry. And as I said earlier, it was a totally irrational act. All of this never should have happened, but it did happen. And for that, I regret that. And, I accept responsibility. With that, Mr. Chairman, that's our closing statement. And I appreciate the board. Thank you for your mercy that's been shown.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Mr. Craig, let me first thank all of our participants here today, those in person and those online. Appreciate your input. It helps inform our decisions. Mr. Craig, as I said, I was not on the panel back in 2021, but I can understand why there was a recommendation for clemency. You had done some good things. You stayed out of trouble. But I'm gonna tell you that for me, I still have some concerns about you. It's one thing, I listen very closely to people. I watch them, I read their expression, I try to get a sense of who the person is. And sometimes people on the outside look pretty good. You're just looking on the outside. But you can get a sense that there's still something not ready on the inside. And that's how I feel about you today. I don't think, and maybe you're not capable of it, I don't know. But I don't really think that you truly understand just the life-changing trauma that all these victims went through. Part of me said, well,
Start back on this. Go ahead.
how long have I been?
Good. Oh, just now. It just now. Okay. You can keep talking.
Can you hear now? Can you hear now?
We can,
Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you, Mr. Roche. Well, you guys froze up on your feed, but we're hearing it through the staff feed.
Okay. Okay. As I was saying, I think you've already received mercy for the things that you've been able to accomplish.
Miss Jackson?
You have to talk louder.
This is Gordon Bobby. We're having trouble hearing you.
All right, let me try to speak up a little bit. Can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
Okay. I think you've already received mercy as a result of a commutation to 99 years, which gives you a parole eligibility date in June of 2029. But I think you have more work to do, more introspection to do, Ms. Craig. When you say you want to bring healing to this family or all of these victims, there are so many victims that go beyond the immediate people involved in the incident. One way that you could bring healing to them is to show them that you're willing to serve out the remainder of your sentence until your good time eligibility date. That would show that you wanted to bring them healing. So for me, I just think you haven't taken enough programs, and I don't think the programs that you have taken have done enough to address your substance abuse issues and on so many lives. So my vote today would be to deny because of a lack of programming, because of a proximity to a good time release date, and your need to understand the impact of your crime.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Freeman?
Okay, Mr. Craig, I've sat here and listened very intently, and there's no doubt you've done very, very well within prison. You have very strong victim opposition. And I know you have the church, and believe me, I'm Catholic and I believe in God and all of those things, but you need classes also. I mean, you hadn't taken a class since 2017, I think it was. And I don't think you grasped what you did. And I think there was some other intent to just shoot the man, and beside, I think he might have known. So my vote today is to deny.
Mr. Craig? I've sat here and I've listened intently. It's one thing to say you're remorseful. It's another thing to show it. And you have not shown it today. You would not let Ms. Jackson, or you wouldn't answer Mrs. Jackson's questions directly. You always wanted to highlight your community service, your work. We had that information. You have not shown remorse at all towards the family. This family is still physically, mentally, and emotionally affected by this crime. It was a senseless crime. You were 21 years old, you were a grown man. You knew exactly what you were doing, or maybe you did because you were so drunk. But you had enough wit about you to steal multiple vehicles, and because someone may recognize you, you brutally murdered the individual because he might be able to recognize you. Based upon the entire legal community opposed, based on the adamant opposition from the victim's family, based upon a history of violence, proximity of your good time date, and the need for additional programming, especially in the area of substance abuse, my vote is to deny your request. You have a good day. This concludes this hearing.
And there is our No Way Rose Shea that we all love and adore. He made his way back to us again. Like when you look at the prior hearing towards this one, it's like two different people. And you know what's interesting about this? And first, guess what, by the way? We're going to go and watch his 2025 parole hearing. He just had one. So he didn't take that advice and say, I'll just serve out my time. I'll be, I'll do as a religious man, I'll give back to the victim's family by just waiting until my good time date comes up. No. He's putting through it. He's putting them through it again. So we're about to watch that parole hearing. But before we do, I want to get some things off my chest, which is again about the idea that what a difference it makes. And this was not a simple thing. I don't think it's a simple thing for the board to say no, because again, keep in mind the governor handpicks this board. Now for the 2025 parole hearing, it's a new governor, so there's no allegiance to the old commutation. But in this scenario that we just saw, Governor Edwards handpicked this board. The board goes to Governor Edwards and says, please sign this commutation. We want him to be parole eligible. Then 2-3 years later, this man goes in front of the parole board that asked the governor to sign it. The governor signs it, and then they say, no, you're not ready. So it might be the governor might be like, what are you doing? You're asking me to commute the sentence, and now you're denying it. What are you doing? Why did you even ask me to commute it? Now, in this case, it's a little different because he has a good time release date. So maybe there's not, it's not as much conflict. But anyways, I think I digress a little bit. But nothing like a Judge Bonnie Jackson classic. She just really knows. She really gets it. And in these hearings, it's the whole thing. It's the same, the butterflies and the turtles with the support, and then you hear the dramatic impact by the victims. But we're here again, and I think that it's just the hypocrisy to come up here and say, I'm a religious man. I'm a man of God. I'm a man of faith, and I'm a this and I'm a that, and that's why you should let me out. And it's like Miss Bonnie Jackson says it so succinctly. All right. So just serve out your full term date. That's what you can do for the victims. But it's just, anyways, let's see if he takes a different approach. Let's see if he takes programs. Let's see if he shows remorse. If he does a better job at that. It's something that we just haven't seen yet, right? Nothing. Let's go. Let's go find out.
Yes, sir. My name is Jody Craig, number 92113. I've been incarcerated since December the 10th, 1979. Started out on a day where I had a drinking associate of mine that came by, and we went out on Highway 31 and started hitting a bunch of lounges and all that. And drinking at that time in my life, it was kind of a void in my life, a bad decision that I'd made. And I started out, and for some reason, after we went to quite a few clubs, I stole a truck, got in the company truck that he had ridden in, cranked it up, stole it, and threw a ride in it. After I rode around and went to different various places, I threw a ride in the vehicle, and then one thing led to another. I ended up committing the crime of aggravated kidnapping and had Mr. Jim Rogers drive me to Bossier City. And then I had released him. I seen a couple coming out of the Ravana restaurant in Bossier City. Then I committed the crime of aggravated kidnapping on Michael Wayne Hardaway and Cynthia Baxter, and had them drive me on the interstate going toward Mississippi. And at some point around that area, I had made the decision to where I killed Michael Wayne Hardaway in Delhi, Louisiana, and had done it, and then continued to drive and was caught in a 10-car roadblock in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and had signed extradition back to Louisiana. And the impact of this crime, it was, over the years and all, I had really hit bottom. It was a time in my life due to that decision that it was really an irrational act. I'm the one that had made that decision and all that, but alcohol played a profound influence in it. I'm sorry for my crimes. I've tried to vocalize that to the victims that were impacted by this. And I've also, when I hit bottom and I came to Louisiana State Prison and finally ended up here after being convicted, I had really hit bottom. I didn't want any trouble. And due to the self-help programs they had right here at LSP, I became involved in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it helped me to realize things about myself, what was going on in my life, a way that I could demonstrate, make amends, try to become a better person, and try to reestablish stuff to where I realized the accountability. Not only did I hurt myself and my relationship to God, I hurt various victimized families. I victimized my own family, society. And so due to the programs that they have right here, I was able to learn a lot about myself. I was able to be involved in so many self-help programs, not only the United States JCs, but Toastmasters, Alcoholics Anonymous, substance abuse. And even though I was denied parole last time I came before the parole board, life continues on. My relationship around 1995, I'm a convert to the Catholic faith. For many years in my life, I was agnostic, but I began to seek, and I found Jesus through the church and began to establish that relationship. And through that, I became very actively involved in it. And for many years, it's helped me out tremendously, become such a part of my life. And the board and all recommended more programs. I had no problem with that because these programs are really good. continued with it. I have a lot of support, not only from the church, but my family and myself. And my plan is to stay involved with the church and also with various recovery support groups and try to get out there and make a difference through volunteering my time, whether it be with prison ministry or whatever. The board was right in that area and addressing that. And I just want to say that I'm a change for the better, and I'm grateful for everything that these programs have offered me to where I can realize to where I can make those amends and become a better person in society at large.
Thank you. We appreciate those comments, and we will certainly take them into consideration when we make our decision. Is the warden or the deputy warden available in the room to talk to us, please, about yes, ma'am. Would you tell us what fellow he's been?
Okay, so Mr. Craig has great work ethics. He's a Class A trustee. He's very well mannered and cooperative with anything orders that he's given. He only had a total of 12 DB reports the whole time he's been here. The last one being in November 2002. He has taken 100 hours, substance abuse, anger management, victim awareness, and letter training, thinking for a change, celebrate recovery, which is a part of Alcoholic Anonymous. He's a member of Toastmasters and the JC, and his Tiger is Low.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate that bit of information. Well, we'll move on now to Mr. Kerry Myers, who is on Zoom representing Louisiana Parole Project. And what are y'all willing to do, Mr. Myers?
Good morning. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We're here in support of Jody Craig's parole. We supported Mr. Craig through his clemency process and through his first hearing. As he stated, in many cases, people who get denied have two options. They can spiral, they can lose hope, or they can take that and the recommendations of the board. They can take it to heart and they can continue to improve. Jody has done exactly that. Jody has been incarcerated for 45 years. He's 68 years old. We certainly understand the needs of someone who's been incarcerated that long and at his age. Parole Project will provide him with transitional programming upon release. We'll take him into our program. He'll get a case manager, a mentor, directly to work with him. He'll become versed in technology, particularly in social norms, understanding simply how the world works today outside of incarceration. We'll provide him with all the support he needs to connect to any services, his medical. We'll continue to, we have already worked with his family. His long-term plan is already initiated his ICOTS to Texas, and that is his long-term plan to return to Texas once he completes a parole project. But we are prepared to work with Jody through this transition. By all accounts, during his 45 years of incarceration, Jody's been a model prisoner, hasn't had a write-up in 23 years, has availed himself to all of the things that prison has to offer him. He's no threat to public safety. We come before this board often. You see petitioners become before this board often. And in so many cases, the offense is difficult. They're all difficult. We understand that. Jody has done everything he can to become the person he is today. We believe that. That's why we've been with Jody since his clemency hearing, and we'll continue to support Jody. We'll ask this board to consider these factors today and grant his parole.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Myers. Thank you for the job that y'all do, the work you do, and thank you for your comments. We'll take them very seriously. We'll move on to Mr. Gerald Jackson, who is headquarters here. Mr. Jackson, would you tell us exactly what your relationship with is and what you have to say?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. My name is Gerald Jackson. I served as a volunteer chaplain in Angola for 21 years. In my last 5 years there, I was full-time chaplain. So I worked directly with Jody. Jody was my clerk in the chapel's office. And I guess over my last 5 years in Angola, I probably saw Jody more than I saw my family because I was there very often. One of the reasons why Jody was in that position, he was assigned to that position by my predecessor, Father Bernie Companion, is that Jody was extremely trustworthy. Not only was he competent in doing the job that we asked him to do, but we needed someone in that position that we could trust. He could protect the integrity of the chapel when we weren't in the building itself. We needed someone to be able to handle records properly. And everything that we were asked Jody to do, he did it exceptionally well. He was extremely dependable, extremely responsible. Again, there was nothing I could ask Jody to do that he couldn't do. And in many cases, Jody knew me so well that he could answer my questions before I answered. The other thing that I asked Jody to do is to get very involved with our retreat program. During the course of the time that I was there, even before it started, I was there. There was a retreat program where high school juniors would come up to Angola, and we had like 26 different groups a year that would come up there on a Saturday. And Jody was one of my speakers. And the reason I wanted Jody to be one of the speakers is because Jody was able to talk openly about what he had done. He admitted what he'd done. He'd taken responsibility. He explained to the students the consequences of his actions, and also talked to them about being forgiven. Also, God's forgiveness and stuff like that in relationship to his church and stuff like that. Very, very genuine, very, very heartfelt. I thought that Jody connected with the kid because he was so genuine in his message to them that he was very, very effective. Jody also had a strong family network. I've gotten to know Jody's family members since I've gotten to know Jody, and I feel very comfortable in the environment that Jody may be able to go back to. He'll have the support he needs. I'm coming up to you to mention to you that this is one of the most comfortable talks I've been able to ever give about somebody that I'm speaking for. Because I got to know Jody so well that I feel quite comfortable in where he is today. And again, I ask for y'all's consideration. There's no doubt in my mind that Jody will do well if he's given that opportunity, and I appreciate y'all's.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for your passion, for your faith, your passion for helping people, and your passion for him.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now we'll continue with people that are in favor. The last speaker will be Melinda House, who is the sister who is at Louisiana State Penitentiary. Melinda, we can hear you from there, so you don't have to get up or anything.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good morning. I am Melinda Craig House. I'm Jody's sister, and I'm here today to speak in support of Jody. Over the years, I've been coming to Angola since I was 15, and I'm so thankful that over those years of time coming that I saw for myself the desire and the willingness for Jody to change and turn his life around. And not only that, but so many over the years, every time we come visit, I have someone to approach us that always tells us what an exceptional inmate and what a good person Jody has become. And so that's not something that, we've asked for. They are willing to tell us about that. And even as close as last month, I had someone to approach me. And so I'm so thankful for the Christian man that he is today. Although, our thoughts and prayers have always been with the families that are so deeply impacted by all of this. And but I'm so thankful for all the things that he has done. He has an excellent disciplinary. He's been a trustee for over 35 years. His prison ministry faith, and not only the mentors that Jay Jackson and the current chaplain and others here, but also we have a great support in our community. There are two well-respected leaders in our community that own businesses for over family-owned businesses for 45 years. And they both are willing to give Jody employment. We have so many in our community have wrote in letters of support, and they're all wanting the best and wanting to be there to support Jody when he comes home. Our family, we have, he'll be able to come home and have a loving and stable environment. We would like for Jody to continue with his prison ministry. I've reached out to even the local diocese and talked to the deacon there, and that's over prison ministry where we're from. And if Jody's granted today, he said he would look forward to having someone like Jody to come. And I know God has used Jody. He speaks on those retreats to the young people. He has helped so many here in Angola with helping them get their GEDs. I know God's used him here, and I know that he has such bigger plans for him if given the opportunity to come home. And I humbly ask you today if y'all would grant Jody's parole, and I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. You're a loyal sister, and we appreciate your comments. We'll take them into consideration. I would ask that everyone in the room there, starting with the man that is on your direct left, would you introduce yourself for purposes of the record, please?
My name is Thomas Key, Jody's cousin.
Okay.
Tracy Craig, brother.
Okay.
Deacon Angelo Nola.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, behind you.
Michael Wagner, childhood friend. Grew up with the family.
William Messenger, chaplain here at Louisiana State Penitentiary.
Melissa Messenger, volunteer chaplain.
Okay, thank y'all for being there in support of him. We appreciate that very much. Okay, we'll move on to those that are in opposition, and we have some that are on Zoom, but they will not be speaking. Mr. Cody Boyd with the Bossier Parish ADA's office, and I'm not sure if the Bossier District Attorney is here or not, is on Zoom or not, but I know he was interested also. Jason Parker, who is the Webster Parish Sheriff, he is on Zoom. Those that are here to speak are going to be Justin Lewis, who is the victim's nephew, and Representative Raymond Cruz with the House of Representatives. And so we'll start off with Mr. Lewis. Would you talk to us, please?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Young said that alcohol had a profound effect on him, led him to make some irrational decisions. He stated that alcohol, Anonymous, and the Catholic Church has helped him change. I know many people who are drinking are alcoholics. It's profound in many of their lives and has made them all make irrational decisions. I don't know of any of those irrational decisions leading to burglary, robbery, kidnap, and murder. I pray that the board will use the most stringent caution from releasing someone to a society where alcohol can be purchased on every corner to prevent more irrational decisions being made. I am sure victims' awareness is a fantastic force, but I think for it to be successful, the person would have to know who the victims are. When Jody went to the Rogers residence, he got out with 2 guns. I was at the Rogers residence Sunday. Mr. Rogers' daughter and daughter-in-law, Melanie, showed me where he went inside the house and jerked the phone off the wall where no phone calls could be made. He told them he killed someone in Kilgore earlier that day. He and another associate had been at bars since early that morning. They stole a gun at one bar and got into a fight at another. That's when he stole Ricky Black's truck and drove toward Tyler. He wanted to take Melanie, who was 7 months pregnant. He held his gun on her when Mr. Rogers entered the house and pleaded with him to take him instead. As they were leaving, Mr. Rogers' wife, Polly, drove up to the house. Jody told Melanie and Jim Rogers Jr. to tell Polly that they were going on a beer run. He told them if they told her anything else, he'd come back and kill them all. He held a pistol up to Jim Rogers' head several times on the way to Bossier. Mr. Rogers drove back roads all the way to Bossier and avoided the interstate. So it was a longer drive than it would have taken on the interstate. That's how they drove up in front of the Ravana restaurant on Highway 8. Jim Rogers Sr. suffered until the day he died and the trauma he endured that day. He had recurring nightmares for 13 years until the day he died. He blamed himself for Mike's death. Melanie is still scared to be alone to this day. Melanie Rogers, Holly Rogers, Jim Rogers Jr. I'm glad he goes to church. My son said that even agnostics in the Marine Corps go to church on Sundays to avoid tearing down the whole platoon's barracks and putting them back together. The same can apply to prisoners. He was agnostic prior to going there. He said he couldn't come up with words to describe his actions that day. I decided to help him today by reading his words a year after this crime happened from the Richard Parish Public File. He said he was in a bar that morning and got an overwhelming feeling that he had to get out of there. He immediately walked out of the bar and stole a truck. He said he wasn't in control of his actions. Later that day, after the robbery and kidnapping of Tyler, he pulled into a restaurant in Bossier City, saw a young man and woman getting into the car, pulled a gun on them and forced them to drive him east toward Mississippi. He then recognized the man as Mike Hardaway. He began to feel very strange riding in the car. He became aware of having sexual feelings toward the woman, and he wanted to have sex with her. He had Mike drive off down the road near Delhi. When he got out of the car to urinate, he forced Mike out. When he was getting back in the car, he told Mike to step back. Then he had this strange, uncontrolled feeling to shoot Mike. The next thing he realized, he had shot the man. He said Mike made a noise and fell on the ground, flopping like a chicken. I don't know if I felt remorse or something, if I would describe it that way a year later. I believe I would probably hit that, flopping like a chicken. I think I would have. I'd like everyone to know that that wasn't the end of Mike. He shot him 200 feet from a highway down an old gravel road and then sped off in the car like a coward. With bullets tearing through almost all of Mike's vital organs and shattering many bones in his body, he crawled on his hands and knees all the way to the highway yelling for help. That's where all the scars came from that were on his hand in his casket. A man named Pat Patterson, nearly 300 yards away, heard him yelling after the gunshots and went to see what the problem was. When Pat got there, Mike was dying. Before he faded away, he was able to tell him who JODY was and that he had Cynthia and he was taking her towards Mississippi. Mike began to fade as he mentioned his mom and dad being older and his dad not doing well. He died moments later. Pat Patterson was a victim also. He cries till this day over Mike's death, wishing that there was something he could have done. If I had more time, I'd go into details. When Mike's belongings were returned to his parents, the police advised them not to take the clothes he was wearing that night because they were way too blood-soaked. Mike was a hero that day. JODY was a coward. In closing, I've watched several of these parole hearings, and I hear people say everyone deserves a second chance. Does second chance mean third chance? Does second chance mean fourth chance? I'd say our first chance is given to us between the ages of 16 and 18, old enough to know right from wrong. I believe he got a second chance at that age when he got a drunk and disorderly. I believe he got a third chance with a drug possession charge, and I believe he got a fourth chance with an assault on the law enforcement. But let's dismiss all those. The only thing he gave Mike was death. Law enforcement gave him a chance to surrender on the bridge. In his words, as soon as he saw the roadblock, he automatically put the gun under the seat and raised his hands and surrendered. Warren County Sheriff Paul Barrett figured there'd be a gun battle and had 18 lawmen set up on the Mississippi side of the bridge. They gave him a chance to live. He was given another second chance when he pled to second-degree murder and kidnapping. He was given 2 life sentences. He was charged with first-degree murder, but that comes with the possibility of death penalty. He decided to make a deal to go to prison for life without the possibility of parole to avoid the death penalty. Now, he wants another second chance. Parole wouldn't be a second chance, it wouldn't be a third chance. Jody Craig told Jim Rogers Jr., Jim Rogers Sr., Melanie Rogers, Mike Hardaway, and Cynthia Baxter that he would not be taken alive. He stated that if they got him, he would take them with him. He made good on that statement 6 hours after he took Mr. Rogers. I think he would have sobered up by then. That's why I think it needs to be extreme caution to let someone out where alcohol can be purchased on every corner. In his clemency hearing and parole hearing, Mr. Wise asked Jody if he killed him because he knew him. Jody stated that's not the reason that he killed him. He told Bonnie Jackson the same answer in his last parole hearing. He didn't kill any of the Rogers. He didn't kill Miss Baxter. He killed Mike. The only thing standing between him and sexually assaulting Miss Baxter was Mike. Jody says there was no reason that he killed Mike. In his own words, he wanted to have sex with Miss Baxter. That's never been brought up here. That's never been brought up when it comes of what he did that day. Jody's family owned a dairy farm on the Mike Pope Road in Shongaloo. It was located a quarter mile down the road from where Mike and his family are buried, including my father. His family would give bull yearlings to Mike's family each year. Jody spent the night with Mike at his house. They knew each other.
Mr. Lewis, would you kind of wrap it up, please? So I think we
Yes,
got
thank
just what you wanted to say.
Yes, sir. This is the last paragraph. When y'all voted communing his sentence, y'all told me this wasn't a vote to turn him loose. You said you heard me when I spoke how this destroyed Mike's parents. You said, we hear you now, and I told you Mike's daddy cried every day, all day, until the day he died, December 25th, 1979, 14 days after on Christmas morning. The doctors told everyone that he died of a broken heart. Taketsubo Carter-Moa, he wasn't diagnosed in 1979. It was diagnosed in 1990. It's broken heart syndrome, very real thing caused by grief. My family has always felt like he killed 2 people that day. I could go on, but I'm not going to. That's my point. It's his decision to get life in prison without the possibility of parole to live. He chose that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate those comments. I know they're heartfelt and for your family. Sorry about what you've gone through. Representative Raymond Cruz, sir, would you tell us what's on your mind?
Thank you, Chair Prater, and the rest of the board and everybody that's attending today. I just heard about this case recently. I represent Bossier Parish where this occurred. And it was brought to my attention that this parole hearing was being held. I can tell you, I can't think of much more than Mr. Lewis said in terms of why this shouldn't be granted. I actually support Jody. I do. And or Jody. But not for his release. I support him to be incarcerated and continue in that manner. I wear socks today. The state of Louisiana says union, justice, and confidence. And the citizens of the state expect justice and confidence. And I think granting this parole would do the opposite. We need the people to know that we're looking out for them and we're executing justice the way it's needed. When I read the string of events and all the prior times that Mr. Craig has been on the opposite side of law enforcement, I saw a pattern. I saw a pattern. When I looked at his apprehension over in Tyler of his first victim there at about 5 o'clock and realized the time it takes to drive today on the interstate to Vicksburg is 5 hours, 4 hours. But on the back roads, whatever, it's many, many hours. So I'm thinking he had plenty of time to think about what he's doing, what the consequences of this would be. And I believe he's got all the chances he needs to be able to be released, and that haven't been granted. I don't think they should. I do think that for everything we do, there's a consequence. And unfortunately, the consequence for him is continued incarceration. I think that's best for the people of Louisiana. I think that's best for the families that have been impacted. But I think that is what justice is. Many times we suffer things from our decisions, and there's just no way around it. And I'm afraid that needs to continue in this. So I appreciate y'all giving me the time to speak. I was amazed at how much the internet has not done for us yet, because I researched this on the internet for several hours We don't have all these records recorded. So here's some of those documents from Richland Parish were eye-opening, even further to me. I thought on the evidence that I had just from the arrest records, whatever, exposure, and the police there, that was reason enough to keep them incarcerated. But after hearing all the details, I'm convinced the people of the state would want to see continued incarceration in this. Sorry for the family that this is happened in their life and Craig's family, but I'm even more sorry for the victims of this continued series of crimes. And I would appreciate that y'all give a strong consideration to denying this parole. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for taking time to come and talk to us, and we will take all of those seriously, okay? Mr. Craig, this case has been assigned to me, and it's, I don't think anybody else is going to speak. Hold on just a second, Mr. Craig. No one else is going to speak, correct? Okay. All right, that's all that will be speaking. I've already identified and introduced them. Everyone else that's on Zoom that we're aware of. And so, anyways, it's my, as the interviewer, as the lead on this thing, I'm supposed to ask you questions. I don't have a lot of questions about the crime, but, and I don't have a lot of questions because we've had so much extensive, coverage as far as support and as far as being against you. I've read the file, several hundred pages of the police reports and the file and all that. And we all know how egregious the crime was. And also, I don't have a lot of questions to ask. In fact, I have no questions. Miss Jerry, do you have, Miss Ledoux, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask?
No, I've read it all thoroughly. Thank you.
Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask, Mr.
No, just that the young man that was killed was only 23 years old. I had read that. And then they had two funerals in 2 weeks because the dad died, like you said. And I do know they have documented broken heart syndrome. So all of it's sad.
Okay. All right. I think everybody's got all the questions. You said what you need to say. We've heard for the pros and the cons, and it's time for us to make a decision. It's my responsibility to be the first one to vote, and it takes a unanimous vote to grant your parole. And having studied the case extensively, and we all agree, even you agree how heinous the crime was. And so my vote is, I want to tell you how proud I am of your accomplishments and all that, but at some point there has to be consequences. And you pled to the sentence that you got. And so I feel like that's what you need to serve this particular time. And so my vote is to deny your request for a parole. Ms. Stapleton?
I concur with Mr. Prater for the same reason. You pled, made a plea bargain, and the crime was very heinous.
Okay. Ms. Gary?
Mr. Craig, 21-year-old who does this, you've served 45 years. You've done so many good things. Today, my vote is going to be to deny, but I see that you've done what you need to do. You're doing the things you need to do. Okay. So my vote is to deny that.
Okay, Mr. Craig, I'm sorry to tell you, but your parole's been denied this morning. The time is 10:09. That's the end of this hearing.
And it's a quick denial, and that's kind of what the new parole board does. They don't go into it like the old board. I don't like it. I would like them to at least ask questions, to at least dig around, see if he spins another lie about why it is that he shot him. I think it was the victim that really is talking about the elephant in the room, right? Saying, you know, it's been skirted around why he shot him. You know, there are reasons. He said, "Oh, he kept just saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know." And it's either because he shot him because he didn't want him to identify him, or as the victim was stating, he had wanted to do something with the girl. And you know, the whole hypocrisy about this entire thing. I think Miss Ledoux was about to touch on this before she stopped, which is he has his good time date in, like, I think 4 years, 29 I remember correctly. And when you focus your entire hearing on how you found God and how you are going to how you feel bad for them and empathy and blah blah blah, which by the way, you still didn't hear any empathy in his voice. You still didn't hear any remorse. It's like nothing is there. It's like he doesn't know how to, but yet he's there as a man of God, and all the preachers behind him and whatnot. And it's like Miss Jackson said, just serve your time. it's like it's like you two-faced hypocrite. Just serve your time. You've already served so much. You've already you got grace by getting your sentence commuted. Just serve your time. If you're going to come in and take a different approach and say, you know, well, I did this, I did that, but don't come in as a man of God and using words like how you're trying to make it better for the victims to just to be here to re-victimize them. What? I can't take it. It's the supporters, the supporters that the rainbows and butterflies, and then you go and you hear the real victims speak. It's always the contrast is it's always the same. And if this would have been Connecticut, they would have granted. They would have said, "Oh, we want you to have parole supervision." Grant. Louisiana, it's different now. They don't care. It's like, nope. It's a new governor, picked a new board. They have a tough on crime agenda. And it's a new sheriff in town, pun intended, right? With Mr. Sheriff there in the middle. But what else am I forgetting? There's no documentation on this hearing, as was even mentioned. There's no appeal because he took the plea deal. It's just, I think, really my takeaway is we still see someone who you can't feel empathy, is trying to hide behind the church, being two-faced, just re-victimizing the victims, and we have a lot of hearings that are coming up like this where we go back 5 years and see it through, as you can see in the Lady Holly Sir Richard spreadsheet. So we got to thank them for connecting the dots. These are, right here, as you can see, there's, can you see this? Yeah. It's on this row, and everything with orange means that it had prior hearings. This case, because it had two prior hearings, and then we connect the dots. So all of these have prior hearings, and now that we just finished it, I'll put in the date. That's how we keep track. We have like a library, something that I don't think exists anywhere else, and we're able to pull all the hearings and see it as it progresses through. This is amazing. I think we're the only YouTube channel that does this for parole hearings, and probably the only place that you can do this. So there's a playlist for it. It's called The Return of. And we have many more coming up like this, many more Miss Bonnie Jackson classics, and also some Keith Jones classics. If you remember him, he's like the Robin to Maribella's Batman. So got those ready to publish out for you. We'll go to Lady Holly's Fact of the Day, because she did, write down info and try to find info on this case, but you can't see any of it. He's 68 years old today. So he'll be out in his early 70s. New Hampshire, 1971 law regulates the size of the opening in a restaurant sugar shakers. It must be less than 3/8 of an inch. Why is there a law that regulates the size of sugar shakers? Someone tell me how that law came about. I always like to bring up the ridiculousness of these dumb laws, because it just goes to show when they want to write laws, they can write laws. If it's about protecting us, not so important. But sugar shakers, I don't even get it. Like, who are you protecting? You're protecting the person who's putting the sugar on their plate? Because, I don't, what? Was that a problem? They had the sugar shakers were dumping sugar all over the place? It was, so, they had to hire lobbyists to go, no. No, you know how it probably happened? Some lawmaker, some legislator in some place went to his diner, and the sugar poured all over his thing, and he got so mad, and then he stuck it in the legislation or something. It's like, anyways, I'll leave you with final words from the victims.
Before he faded away, he was able to tell him who Jody was, and that he had Cynthia and he was taking her towards Mississippi. Mike began to fade as he mentioned his mom and dad being older and his dad not doing well. He died moments later. Pat Patterson was a victim also. He cries till this day over Mike's death, wishing that there was something he could have done. If I had more time, I'd go into details.